Hello and welcome to this episode. Today we are looking at the Object 705, which is a Tier 9 Soviet heavy tank in the Russian tech tree. This tank is the Tier 9 upgrade from the ISM, which is a Tier 8. We did a review on this on the previous episode, so if you'd like to look at that, there is going to be a link to this video, and there will be a link to that review as well at the end of this video. So the Object 705, is it a good tank? Short answer, it's a really good tank. This thing has everything that you want in a heavy tank, except probably for the gun depression department. That one is a little bit bad at -5, and especially since you're a retarded tank, -5 gun depression is going to be a very, very big problem in this tank. So compared to the ISM, what does the Object 705 improve on? Well, firstly, it improves heavily on the armor department. If you look at the tank, it's a little bit less boxy and there are more angles. Unlike the ISM, which practically sported, flattish armor layouts at points. But the Object 705 doesn't have much of this problem. And if you look at the turret works like a miracle. The turret basically bounces almost every single round. With 300 millimeters of armor angled like that, the turret is really good. This tank is also low profile, so you are able to hide behind small objects, and not only that, you can utilize small obstacles like maybe a small boulder or even a very small ridge on the map. You can use that, and you can side scrape in this tank. And really, this tank is a side scraping machine. The moment you get a really good side scraping location, you practically arguably, you're gonna have a very good game, or in fact, a really, really good game in this tank. Like the ISM, this tank is still mobile. It's not really your typical slow heavy tank. So this thing can be very relevant in the game, in any battle especially. Although 398 millimeters view range, that's okay for a heavy tank. That is arguably a lot better than the ISM, which only had 359 millimeters on my setup. 398 is okay-ish for a heavy tank, especially for the Object 705, which is mostly a close quarter brawler. So view range shouldn't really be a big issue when you're playing this tank. Of course, it might be an issue in late game where you could be one of the last few players alive, and you would want to have that view range so that you can outspot any enemies that you might still have. So this tank, it comes with two gun choices. What we're looking here is the 122mm gun at the moment. It's just the same gun as on the Object 257, which is the other Tier 9 Russian heavy tank. Of course, the difference being, the Object 257 not only has this gun, but that thing has one of the most broken armor layout in the game. So this gun has 248 millimeters of standard APCR penetration. The fact that this thing shoots APCR as base round is insane. This thing has really good shell velocity at nearly 1,260. And that basically means that this tank can snapshot a lot of the times, especially when we consider that this thing has 0.37 dispersion at 100 meters and an aiming time of 2.74. This thing can be very, very snappy, and it's actually really good. That's really good for this tank. Furthermore, it does have a rate of fire of 6.08 rounds per minute. That's on my loadout, of course, which basically means we have a reload time of 9.86. 9.86 at Tier 9, shooting 440 in a heavy tank that has arguably one of the best armor layout, and the fact that it's Russian basically means this tank can be very competitive if you play it correctly. you can be one of the most dangerous tank in the battle, even as a bottom tier in the tier 10 battle. This thing is merciless in that department. So not only that, the 122mm is, it is truly a good choice, but there is another gun in its arsenal, which is the 130mm S70. If you know what the 130mm is, it's basically the gun on the IS-7, but it's one tier lower at tier 9. So this thing has 250mm of base penetration, which is better than the 122mm, and it does have that sweet 490 alpha damage. And it might be a 50 damage increase, but when we consider things like the 25% plus minus RNG, this basically means that at times you are even able to roll as high as 613 damage. 613 damage, and the fact that this thing meets tier 7s, that's really deadly. And unlike the E75, this thing has low profile. It doesn't have a big weak spot. I mean, you can hide that if you know how to, and it's more mobile than the E75, so you have all of the advantage in this tank. However, there is something that really prevents this gun from being as competitive as the 122mm. Current setup, 4.97 rounds per minute. This thing gets 12-second reload. 12 seconds of reload, for 490 damage, it is okay, but that really damages your DPM from 2,600 on the 122mm to 2,433 on the 130mm. Furthermore, your dispersion does increase to 0.4, and again, it seems like a very small increase, but 0.4 and 0.37 can be the difference between hitting the shot and missing the winning shot. So, that is something to take into consideration when you're playing this tank. The aiming time remains the same, so there's really nothing much to comment on that. 2.74, I mean, to be honest, the 2.74 aiming time isn't really such a big deal, especially when you're playing close quarter combat in this tank. So I won't really delve into that aiming time at all. So what is my setup in this tank? Well, like the ISM, I don't really use a very expensive setup. It's a very simple one. So crew-wise, it's a relatively new crew. I have Brothers in Arms and 31% on the repair. And equipment-wise, I run the usual improved ventilation, which, plus 6% to all crew skills level, which is really good. It really helps to shave down all of these stats on the 130mm especially. And the gun rammer, which basically gives you minus 10% to reload time. So if I remove the gun rammer, this 12-second reload is easily going to go up to 13 minutes, 13.4 seconds, not minutes, 13.4 seconds. So yeah, that will make this gun even more not competitive. I don't really carry HE, although I think I should start carrying HE. Although, if there is something I need to comment on the Object 705, it's the fact that this tank gets ammo wrecked very easily, which can be very annoying when you're playing this tank, especially as a side scraper, because there will be times where you might over angle accidentally, and if you over angle and they shoot you in the side, the chances of your turret flying off is really high. So I think something that I would consider would be to add something like a modified configuration, which will basically increase your ammo rack durability and increase your repair speed, which is very important. So, the 705, in a nutshell, is a really good tank at tier 9. It is competitive if you know how to play it, and arguably, it's one of the more fun tanks at tier 9 to play, just because you have everything you want in a heavy tank, except for the gun depression, but everything else is good. 20mm on the elevation angle is a very good thing on this tank, because that means if there are tanks above you, you can easily aim up and shoot them, which is very important in this tank, because especially in some maps like can't really remember the map, but you know, there will be maps where people can be on top of you and you just want to have that ability to shoot up and, you know, deter them. Especially with 490 alpha, that is going to deter light tanks from trying to exploit you, because, you know, a lot of tanks don't really have really good elevation angles like that. So the 705, it's a really good tank, and there will be, you know, I'll be showing you 2 replays. Each replay will be using each of the gun, the 122mm and the 130mm, so that you can see what is the playstyle for this tank using either one of the gun. So let's jump into the first replay. So here we are on the first replay. We are watching a video of this Object 705 in fjords using the 122mm gun. So matchmaking wise, it's a very simple tier 9 tier 8 battle with about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tier 9s and the rest mainly being tier 8s. Now, fjords. One way of playing this game, the only way really to play this map in a tank like the Object 705 would be to go down to J4, J5 area, which is where I'll be going in this battle, because there is a boulder there which you can use to side scrape. So as you can see, I'm starting my movement to J5, and looking at it, the mobility isn't really as bad as it looks. It's okay, and you can really see how low profile this tank is. You are considerably shorter than the EMX M449, which is already one of the bigger profile tanks out there, and you know, mobility wise isn't really that slow. It's okay. So J5, there is a boulder there which you can use to side scrape, and it is relatively RT safe, so it's not really a big problem when you're playing it on the Object 705 there, and any tank for that matter. So looking at the map, we already know that if we reach J5, we'll be fighting tanks like the 50 TP and the Bisonte C45, and both of those tanks have good gun depression values, which means they can also have a good game from their side, because their side has some extreme angles, which only tanks with gun depression can really play. So you know, they can have the advantage there, but you're gonna see how side scraping on this tank really changes the can really change the outcome. So we are reaching the boulder. This is the boulder here. That's the boulder, and as you can see, I'm trying to prepare myself to side scrape without exposing too much of my tank, because we don't want to risk anything. So 50 TP, hold down. Not really much we can do there. He has really good turret armor, so I'm not really I'm not really peeking on him, because I know I can't penetrate, but I'm trying to lure him to shoot me in the side armor, and we hit him on the turret. And this is the 122mm gun, by the way. As you can see, it can pull off those kind of shots, because you have the accuracy and you have the aiming time. So as you can see, I try my luck again to hit him in the cupola, and this time we ricochet. It's a really small weak spot, to be honest, especially if he's basically going hull down behind a relatively big boulder there. The Bisonte peeks out, but he accidentally shows too much of his tank, but he was able to reverse back, so we weren't really able to put a shot on him. And you can really see side scraping is, you know, the good thing about this tank is really just side scraping. The tracks can eat up a lot of damage, which is very good. The 50 TP is still hiding behind the boulder. He's not really giving us an easy time to shoot his weak spots, which is good for him. Now the Bisonte starts to side scrape as well, but unlike us, the Bisonte doesn't really have the best side armor, so we can use that to penetrate his side armor. The 122mm is enough to overmatch the side armor of the Bisonte C45. Now, knowing that they only have 2 tanks, I start to push forward you know, in hindsight, I should have shot him in the front wheel, but yeah. So now we have this awkward battle where we don't really have the gun depression, so I can't really go after the Bisonte C45 just yet. And you know, the Conqueror isn't really helping. I tried to lure a shot from the Bisonte, but the 50 TP comes out. We shoot him in the lower plate. He shoots us, but he hits us in the upper plate. As you can see, there is a bounce mark over there. We bounced off this 50 TP again, and I try to reverse as fast as I can behind this Conqueror just so that I don't get shot. But to be honest, I tried to put another shot in, but that was a really bad shot by me over there. But really trying to land a shot on his lower plate here can be a little bit tricky. That was a very lucky shot. We almost did not hit him in the lower plate. And now the 50 TP doesn't really have any more HP to trade with. He is a one-shot just as the Bisonte. So I'm actually hoping that my team, you know, became a little bit more aggressive here, considering there's a T95 behind us. A Doom Turtle is coming behind us. So the battle is 77, it's neck to neck. And finally, the AMX M4 and the Conqueror starts pushing in, although the M449 gets into a little bit of a trouble here from the Bisonte getting tracked. The 50 TP shot, so I take this opportunity to kill him. And finally, after that, I can finally turn my attention to the Bisonte C45. I go the safe way, basically. I go down this slight angle here so that I don't risk getting shot by the Bisonte, and we knock him out as well. Now finally, Artie finally hits us. We're finally in the open. I was actually expecting that Artie shot anyway, so it wasn't really a big deal. So right now, there's a T95 going to where we were, and there's a Progetto 46 in the center of the map. So, you know, I tried to be careful here. I was making sure no one was there to shoot at me, and I started to go after the Progetto 46 because we don't want that tank to have map control by controlling the center of the map. So we want him gone as fast as possible. So the Progetto 46 wasn't really paying attention, and finally he gets sniped by our own Progetto 46. Now the T95, the Conqueror hasn't seen him, so that's when I thought that the T95 could be coming my way instead. So I decided to start crafting a position where I can use my side scraping benefit. So the T95 comes chugging along, and we track him. So he's stuck in the open, and the Conqueror is able to farm him. The RT lands a shot on him as well, and that was all the T95 had to say. We just had to track him, and that was the end of him. So we went through the center a while ago, and we didn't really see, no one shot at us. So I had this false impression that no one was in the center of the map, or at least no one was watching the center of the map. So, you know, I basically take the scenic route down here, slowly chugging along, and the Borsig hits us. And of course, Artie also smashes out for that, but there's a Borsig there, and that is something to be concerned with, because the Borsig has really good camouflage values. And we don't really want to risk being farmed by a Borsig, especially since that thing is using almost the same gun as this tank. It also does 490 alpha damage, so it will be very painful if we get shot by that gun. So as you can see, I actually reversed into this ditch here. I'm trying to escape, and the PTA managed to get around us. So now we are surrounded. There's a PTA there, and there's a Borsig on the other side. I put a snapshot on the Leopard PTA, which is only possible if I'm using this 122mm gun. The shell velocity really helped with that. If I was in the 130mm, the shell would probably have been a little bit derpy, and especially with the a bit less accurate, being a less accurate gun, you know, the chances of us missing that shot was there. That was a very, very clutch shot. So I'm hoping that this Skoda T50 and the STA1 spots the Borsig, and the Leopard PTA shoots us again. So right now I knew I had to put my utmost attention to that Leopard PTA, who is obviously very angry. He's trying to farm us. But this really makes it a bit complicated for our team because the Skoda T50 and the STA1 will get farmed by the Leopard PTA if I don't cover this flank for them. The Borsig gets spotted and he starts retreating. The Skoda T50 is down to 185 health, so he is a one-shot for RD and the Leopard. The STA1 goes ham against the Borsig, which is good for him. That increases the pressure, and he gets the Borsig gets killed off by the artillery. Now, where is the Leopard PTA? We don't really know where he went, so I'm not leaving this ditch just yet because I don't want to risk being caught out by the Leopard PTA, especially in this stage of the game where nearly everyone is down to low health. And finally, we see the Leopard PTA. And this was just a perfect location. The Leopard PTA panicked there for a second. And now I need the Skoda T50 to land at least one shot on him. Just land one shot on him. And that was very awkward. The PTA takes the Skoda T50 out. I had a little bit of an issue with the gun depression there, but we were able to pick up the Leopard PTA for our third kill. So now it's just artillery, and it's just artillery left against me and our own artillery. So we know where the artillery was last spotted thanks to the STA1. So it doesn't really make this part of the game any more scary. It's basically just a matter of not missing. And yeah, as much as this gun has 0.37 dispersion and a very good gun handling stats actually, you know, there are times where this gun can be a little bit troll and you might miss even at point blank, which is one of the most frustrating things that can happen in this tank, especially when you're doing close quarter brawling. So the RT seems to have been attacked by the RRD and we kill him with an ammo rack. We destroyed him with an ammo rack. So here we are in Glacier. This time we are playing the Object 705 with the 130mm. And looking at the team matchup, we are now not the top tier anymore. There are tier 10s, there are 3 tier 10s. And Glacier, the only way to play this in a heavy tank, in my opinion, would be to go to the aircraft carrier area there, where you can side scrape and, you know, be RD safe for most part of the game. This map is a very open map, and there is one artillery in each team, so that is something that we have to look out for. So the Object 705 with the 130mm plays a little bit differently from playing it with the 122mm because this gun is a lot more inaccurate. So this gun you really have to be more into close quarter brawling, where this gun really does well because if you combine the fact that this thing has one of the best armor layouts in the game, this thing can trade shots any time of the day with any tank. In fact, you can even trade shots with the mouse because this gun can eat through the mouse's weak spots if you could hit it. So as you can see, I'm waiting here at the corner. I'm not leading the push because one thing about the Object 705 is that it's not really a tank that can push by itself. It's a little bit team dependent. Especially with the 130mm gun, because your reload with 12.35 seconds in this replay basically means that you have that long where you are basically a target for everyone. And players that know how strong the Object 705 could be would make it a priority to kill you first. So you don't really want to present yourself as a tank that's very easy to kill. And at all times, I always try to make sure that we have some other tanks in front of me so that we can do that. Now you're seeing me here playing with the gun elevation here, and if we didn't have this gun elevation, shooting this Borask wouldn't have been possible. In other tanks you will have to find a way to get your gun aiming upwards, but on the 705 It's not really much of a hassle. In fact, I can shoot even higher than where the Borask was, which basically means I can go as near as I can to him so that it'll be harder for him to hit me but easy for me to hit him. The Borask thinks we can't shoot him at all. We slap him for 532 before T-57 takes him out. The 532 roll wouldn't have been possible if we were using the 122mm, and really that is the satisfying thing about playing the 130mm. It's really when you do those kinds of big alpha rolls like 532 or even 600 at times, it really makes this tank shine in the battlefield. So as you can see now, I become a little bit more confident because we know it's a Leva and Emil too, so I side script a little bit and I shoot the Leva for 514. Another big high roll. The Leva tries to shoot us, but again, our good side armor, our Trex rather, eats the damage. And now the Leva is a one shot. There's really nothing much you can do. I'm not rushing for a shot. As you can see, I'm trying to bait them to shoot me, but doesn't work that way. And the Leva, we hit the boulder instead. That is the big problem with this gun. The shell velocity is so slow that at points you could be reversing before the shell has even made clear of such thing. Alright, so now we have the Type 4 Heavy pushing here really strongly, and the IS-7, the enemy IS-7 is shooting HE, which is very interesting. Now we are in this very weird position where there's an IS-7 there, there's the Emil-2 over there, and there is the TDs there as well. So we're kind of in a crossfire here, so I try to use this boulder in front of me as a way to put something between me and everyone else and this Emil-2. You see, we had a very unlucky shot there, and really this gun can be very derpy at times. So sometimes you have to aim a little bit longer just to make sure that the shell goes in, and you know, we had to make sure that shell goes in because we don't really want to risk the Emil-2 basically doing more than he does, or he did. Now the IS-7 is still shooting HE on us. I try to shoot him there, but our shot goes low. You can see how big the bloom is on this gun, which is, you know, it doesn't really help when you want to snapshot people. So the Type 4 continues pushing. He was a real player in this game, really good player, and finally hit the IS-7 in the lower plate, but that was a very lucky shot there. We could have bounced off anyway. So now I start pushing in, and really you can see the beauty of having a low profile tank. It makes it harder for people to shoot you, although the SU-130 does manage to sling a shot to our side armor there. He actually hit our turret. Now you see me doing very interesting driving maneuvers over there. And now this is where, you know, we're gonna be playing a lot with our angle here, because with -5 degrees of gun depression, it's really a hassle looking for the perfect angle to make the gun depression work. Now there's a TD there, which is why I didn't really want to peek too much. We missed the shot again. You know, it's really just the accuracy and the dispersion. It's not really in this gun's nature to snapshot all the time. And I'm really in this very weird, awkward scenario where the IS-7 can easily just turn to me and shoot me in, you know, behind my turret. And given that this tank has very fragile ammo rack, you don't really want to get shot too much in this tank. The IS-7 continues shooting HE. We managed to track him, but no damage, which is, you know, a bummer. And now you're seeing me playing around with the angle again, which is very awkward. The IS-7 shooting HE doesn't really care about our armor. He just has to make sure the HE shell lands somewhere that can do damage. And you can really see how awkward it is to play a tank like the 705 in this kind of scenario. You don't really have the gun depression, and being a rare turreted tank, that means that you have to expose a lot of your front in order to be able to make the gun depression angle work. So as you can see here, I'm trying to be very careful here, because if you look at the minimap, the STRV 103 was last spotted around there. So I wasn't really trying to expose too much, because we don't really know where the S tank can be. He could be in that bush, he could be on top of that bush over there. So we don't really want. I wasn't really keen on exposing too much. However, I did make a very stupid move here. I know the UDES 16 was there, but I was trying out my luck here, and you know, I was trying to basically push around this corner so that we can probably hit the IS-7. Actually, I wanted to cross over there so that we can start hunting down the SDRV. You can see me here. I'm actually trying to bait a shot. I'm trying to make sure that no one is there, and I basically get tricked. The UDES 16 was actually still there, and that left me down to a one shot. Now, the fact that the IS-7 is shooting HE, this is not a good thing, because if the IS-7 rolls good on his HE, we're dead, we're toast. There's really nothing we can do. The Type 4 is also getting farmed by the UDES behind him. And this is the part where I get a little bit frustrated with my team, because we have the Conway and the AMX-30 still near our base. I don't really know what they're doing. They're not going after the standard B, which is last spotted around where the AMX-30 was. And the UDES 16 and the SDRV are, you know, they're still relatively healthy at this point. So as you can see, I'm really trying to find a shot into that IS-7, because that IS-7 hulled down over there. You know, he's a very dangerous target right now. He has, not only does he have armor, but he's shooting HE. And especially considering that me, the Object 277, and the Emil 1951 are already heavily crippled in terms of our HP. We don't really want to risk the IS-7 having a HE shot on us. Now finally find the UDES 16, which shuts down our Emil 1951. And that is a big problem for us now. The fact that he has full health, that basically means he won't hesitate to rush us. And the Object 277 starts going off his own way. So you can see me looking at the Object 277. I was like, you know, where are you going, mate? You're leaving me alone to fight this thing. Our RT manages to shut down the IS-7, so that was good. Now this is, I think this part of the replay, or this battle, was one of the most nerve-wracking. You can see I'm trying to wiggle my tank. I'm basically driving back and forth so that he can't aim for our weak spot, and I was lucky the 277 reacted quickly and he basically came to the rescue. As you can see, this was really close here. He was aiming for my lower plate there, but you know, just, you know, very minute left and right maneuvers and back and forth was basically the way that we were able to save ourselves. So the Object 277, he was a great player. 666 Diablo from the Russian server, he was a real team player back there. He could have easily ignored me and tried to find a good position where he can fight the UDES 16, but no, he went on to try and save us. The enemy 261 was there all this time, so you can see me aim for it and we kill him off. So that is our 4th kill. Our RT is having a really good battle. He just killed the standard B, and that was his 5th kill as well. So now we are left with one enemy tank, SDRV 1030. Now the SDRV in late game, and if he has a lot of health, is a very dangerous enemy, because the SDRV 103 and basically all of the top tier Swedish tank destroyers have really good, not only do they have good gun handling, but they also have really good camouflage values. So he could easily be just sitting in front of us and we still won't spot him. And this is where the view range of 398 will really bite you in the back, because that basically means the SDRV with its good camo value can easily negate your view range. And you know, this thing having no camo by itself basically means the SDRV has the advantage. And this is why you can see me being very cautious here. I don't really want to poke around the corner too much. I do knock down the tree so that I can have some sort of soft cover. So I'm waiting for this AMX-30 to move up, because you have to remember the SDRV doesn't have a turret, so it's only going to be facing one direction at a time. And finally we find him. He was sitting in that bush there, and I aim for the side armor. We almost killed him. That was a really close kill over there. But in the end, the AMX-30 takes him out. And that was a very close victory in this battle. So this is the post-game stats for the battle in Fjords. As you can see, this was a Master Race battle, and we did get some medals here. We got the Demolition badge for destroying the artillery with an Amarak. We had the Fighter badge, which basically, having 4 to 5 kills in a battle, I think. And we do have this Battle for Effect badge as well, which basically means we did more damage than our own hit points. So in this battle, we were top 2 in the EXP, and we were top 2 in damage. It was a 4,706 combined battle, giving us 4,732 WN8 in this battle, which is really good. I really like it when you get purple stats. I mean, who doesn't like purple stats? Yeah, in this battle, you can see it really is the Skoda T50 who was the real champ in this battle. He had the highest experience, and really, it was him who helped us to kill the Leopard PTA in the end, even though he had to sacrifice himself. But sometimes you have to sacrifice yourself if you want to win. And the Skoda T50 was a good player in that aspect. He was willing to push, even though he was a one-shot. He was willing to push in and help find the Borsig, which the ST1 basically killed by him. Basically rushed, so that the Borsig cannot cannot be any more effective in the battlefield. And as you can see, he has the top 3 EXP in this battle. So it's a really good tank. It was a 1,226 base experience game, although with a premium account we are able to bump it up to 1,839 experience thanks to the multiplier. And finally, the post-game stats for the battle in Glacier. As you can see, it was also a Master Race battle. We got the same few medals, but we did get the Spartan medal here, which is basically a medal where you bounce a shot with less than 10% of your HP left. So basically, it's almost like a lucky medal. Basically means you're a good bouncer or something. In this battle, we completed first, however, in experience and damage in our team. It was a 5,583 combined damage, which basically gives us a 6,400 WN8. As you can see, in this battle, I was actually trying to get my second mark. I was already at 77.73%, and you can really see how even with this kind of monster game, you only earn 1.7% on the gun mark, which is very painful, to be honest. Looking at the team score, so that we see who are the good ones. I'm actually surprised the Object 277 wasn't as high up in the team list, but nevertheless, the Object 277 was the real saver in this battle. When the standard B, not standard B, when the UDA 16 rushed us at the end, the UDA 16 could have easily killed me. And the Object 277, instead of basically just hiding behind some sort of cover, he actually went all out and helped to save us. So that was really what helped us win this battle, because the UDA 16 could have easily carried that battle. All of us were one-shots. The AMX-30 was a one-shot, I was a one-shot, and the Object 277 was a two-shot at best. So as you can see, the artillery also had a really good battle. I'm not really surprised. It is an open map. He almost had top gun, so good for him, really. And going into the detailed report, I mean, I don't have the detailed report for some reason, but this was a 1,372 base experience game. But again, with the premium account, we are able to bump it up to 2,058 experience. So what do I feel about the Object 705? I really think the Object 705 is a really good tank. It's a good tank at teaching you how to side scrape, because unlike the E75, which is very boxy really, this thing being less boxy basically means it's a little bit more forgiving when you are doing your side scraping. It's a little bit more forgiving in the sense that you can actually experiment with your angle, and if you ever angle yourself wrongly, there's still a chance that the upper half of your hull might be able to bounce off any unwanted shells. Although one thing really, which the replays didn't really showcase, was how prone this is to ammo wreck. It almost feels like every time someone shoots you in the side, your ammo rack will surely get destroyed. And you can actually see it in my Object 705 replay video called, what was it called? Good Matchmaking Makes the Dream Work. You can really see how, the ammo rack on this thing can be a little bit of an issue. But yeah, the Object 705, it's a really good tank. I would recommend this tank really to anyone. It almost doesn't seem, it's not really a meta tank from what I know. Not a lot of people would go out and play the Object 705. People would rather play medium tanks lately because, medium tanks, you can't go wrong with medium tanks really. Medium tanks in World of Tanks are basically god tier tanks. So yeah, that is the Object 705 review. I hope you enjoyed this review. I tried to showcase as much as I can about this tank. Which I played, let's see here, we only played 148 battles in it, and I was able to ace it, I think, a total of 6 to 7 times. Although, I only showed you 2 of them, because, if I was going to show all 7 Master Race tanker battles, this video would easily go past an hour and a half. So, Object 705, pros and cons. The pros is that you have good armor, you have a very, very meaty gun, which can really deter enemy tanks from, mucking around with you, basically. And you are low profile, so you can use that to your advantage to use natural terrain as your cover. But, the cons to this tank is, firstly, the mobility can be a little bit terrible at times. -5 gun depression, that is another big bummer in this tank. Basically means you can't play ridge lines. And, a lot of maps have ridge lines, so that is a very big trouble for this tank. And lastly is the ammo rack. I cannot help but stress on how bad the ammo rack is on the Object 705. So if you were me, if you were me, I think we should all get modified configuration just to reduce the chances of us getting ammo wrecked, and giving us a faster repair speed, because side scraping in this tank basically means that there will be times where the enemy team can track you, basically destroy your tracks, and HE does exist. So, if they track you and they perma-track you, the enemy teams can just keep slinging HE shells to your side, and, it will be a very slow and painful death after that. So, getting that to increase your repair speed will be good. As you can see, I'm actually training up a repair skill as well, so that it will speed up the repair speed on this tank. Because a lot of times I've been perma-tracked, and it's a painful death when people are slowly pecking at you, with HE shells. It's not a fun experience. In fact, it's actually very embarrassing when you watch back on yourself getting easily murdered by HE shells. So that's the Object 705. I hope you enjoyed this review, and next video we might be looking at the tier 10, which I have, spoiler alert, I already aced it in like 6 battles. Short story long story short, the Object 705A is basically the tier 9, but with a more meteor gun and even more crazy turret. But we'll save that for the next. We'll save that for the review, which will be dedicated solely to this tank. So I hope you all enjoyed this review. I certainly enjoyed looking back at those replays, watching them again, and basically reminding myself of how I played the 705. This tank is a joy to play. If you enjoyed the ISM, the Object 705 is gonna be an addiction. So yeah, that's all for today's review. I hope you enjoyed, and if you want to pick up this tank, go right along. Just make sure you don't get ammo wrecked, and make sure you know how to side scrape. Until then, I'll see y'all in the next review video or whatever video I post. So yeah, stay tuned to that. And without further ado, thanks for watching. Goodbye. And I think I should start saying this. Do remember to like, leave a comment if you want to. Maybe there's something you want to suggest. And please don't forget to subscribe. I mean, don't caress the subscribe button, smack it hard. And that's all I have to say. Thanks for watching and goodbye.